Good morning, everybody. My name is Amy, and I am an alcoholic. And I do have experience with these steps through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous with the grace of a very loving God that has a tremendous sense of humor. Several step study sponsors throughout the years that have given me guidance and grace through their experience with these steps. I have made all my formal amends. I hold myself in complete readiness for any amends that should present themselves that I'm unaware of. I do have one large amends from more recent times in my life that I'm holding myself in complete readiness to make as well. And I do live these principles to the best of my willingness every single day of my life. I am not the woman that came into Alcoholics Anonymous many years ago. I am not the woman that was in Alcoholics Anonymous a year ago. By the grace of God and you people. Eduardo, thank you. It's a privilege to be here among my peers here in this program. I have tremendous respect for each and every one of you, whether I know you or not. Step 12, I want to really stick to where we're at today, because this is really, this is where it all comes together. This pulls it all together. You know, the second half of Step 12 says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics. And then today we're talking about, and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Oof. That is a tall order. That's a really tall order, you know, but it doesn't shake me to the core like it used to hear that or read that. But there was a time when I thought, there's just no way that's going to happen. And by no means am I perfect. I never will be. I don't even aspire to be. I think mistakenly there was a time in my sobriety/recovery where I actually aspired to be perfect, because I thought that was something that was achievable through the steps and this work. And I set myself up for a tremendous disappointment the first time I stepped out of the gate after reading my fifth and thinking I was somehow rendered white as snow, and I got resentful or jealous, or something came out the side of my neck at someone, and I thought that I had failed somehow, and I had not had any kind of a spiritual awakening, and I was reminded gently but very point blank by my sponsor at the time that in fact I still was going to have these things within me. It was, what did I do with them? Where did I go to get the help that I needed with them in the moment? And what was I doing on a daily basis to try to practice these principles in all of my affairs, so that when these things did crop up, I did not have to resort to being the same person that I brought in here, and that I truly was. For those of you that don't know me, I was in this program for many, many years. I am the poster girl for sobriety does not mean recovery. I had a lot of sobriety under my belt when I found Big Book Step Study, or should I say it really found me. But I had nothing in the way of real spiritual recovery. I quite frankly don't even know exactly how I stayed sober as long as I did, knowing how I felt and what was going on inside of me behind the scenes. It just became harder and harder. I actually had to work harder to cover all of that up and to try to put forth this person that represented the time I had in Alcoholics Anonymous, because I knew intuitively that I shouldn't be feeling the way I was, but I was still convinced that the solution to the way I felt on the inside was somewhere out there. It was in a person, it was in a place, it was in a thing, it was in something else external that I just hadn't come across yet, which blows my mind, because I have had girlfriends, boyfriends, shacks, mansions, I've had sedans, coupes, I've had cats, dogs. I've done everything in sobriety to try to have something that was sustainable within me. And I can tell you, if you're still caught in that rut and you're still lying to yourself about that, it doesn't work, okay? I'd like to save some people some heartache and save you from having to do the kind of cleanup that I had to do. You know, when I wrote my fourth step, I would say probably 90% of the 5 subject notebooks that I had to read to my sponsor in my fifth were sober behavior. I could not blame alcohol or drugs on the way that I had behaved the resentments I had accumulated and the damage that I had done. So I find it interesting that, we start the reading, it's just perfect, made me chuckle this morning, that I'm speaking, or I've been asked, given the privilege to speak on the part of the step that begins, now the domestic problem. Who could that be? There may be divorce, possibly, separation, or just strained relations. That would be on the best of days. Okay. It talks a lot in here about demonstrate. They use the words demonstrate, demonstration. Those that know me know that I'm a pretty good talker. And I've always prided myself on that my whole life, that I can, wheel and deal and talk and parrot things back and whatnot, but follow through with action, never my strong point, never a character asset of mine by any means. I lacked a lot of action to back up a lot of what I was saying a lot of the time. And none of this makes me a bad person. And I know that today. I was born perfect, whole, and complete. My Creator that I have in my life, I had every single principle within me, I believe, and this is for me, I had every single principle within me that these steps have given me back, these steps have reignited in my life. They were buried underneath a lifetime of selfishness, self-centeredness, self-will run riot, which is all driven by fear, right? That's what I found out. I have a fear-based disease, and I have been trying to manage my fear. I've been wrestling this alligator my whole life and trying to look cool and calm and cute while I was doing it, and, trying not to let everybody know that nothing was the way that I wanted it to be. Nothing was, and no one was. There was always something that needed to be different wherever I went and whatever I did. And if I finally got to where I thought I wanted to be, wasn't that great. I wanted to be somewhere else, I'm going to guess from the laughter you might be able to identify with that. And if I finally achieved, like snagging the person of my dreams, yeah, they're not so great. And never once did it occur to me, and I'm talking about in sobriety, this is untreated alcoholism, that I was the problem. And I loved alcohol. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I loved it through all the years I was sober. But my experience, and I believe that this is the way it was meant for me to have to understand what alcoholism truly is, that it truly is not about the alcohol. It is about my spiritual malady that is fear-based within me, that separates me from my Creator, that blocks me off from standing in the sunlight of the Spirit. And all that kind of talk through the years, if I even heard it, I'd be like, they're so full of it. Really? Ew, ick. Who wants to be that, I'm having such a great time. Who wants to be that? So there are principles that I've acquired. So, my experience is that, step one, the first principle, and I don't have them committed to memory. I'm getting old and I can't remember a lot of things. So this morning I took the time to write down the 12 principles as I understand them of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. So honesty, powerless over alcohol. My life has become unmanageable. For years I admitted I was powerless over alcohol. That's one of the reasons I was able to, I believe, with the grace of God, knew people to stay sober. But I would not concede that my life was unmanageable. I wouldn't give that over. So I called myself a two-stepper for years, and I was mistaken in even calling myself that because I hadn't even taken a full step one, to be honest with you. So I needed to get honest, okay? I found that when I finally got to Big Book Step Study. Hope. Step two, came to believe that a power greater than myself could and would restore me to sanity. And what does that mean in my life? That means that I'm starting to give up the idea that, I can do the job on my own, I had heaps of evidence through the years that I could not that I couldn't manage my life, that I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And I refused to accept that for years. And step 2 was this final hope that if I was willing to open myself up, even the tiniest bit, to something different. It talks in step 2 in We Agnostics about our readiness to throw away the gadget these days that doesn't work, the latest cell phone that comes out, and all of a sudden mine isn't good enough for me. I want the next greatest one, why I shouldn't open my mind up to the idea that perhaps the God I was raised with that didn't jive with who I was, that was punishing and this and that, why I shouldn't open myself up to and be ready to change my ideas about that, to maybe say that people that had spirituality weren't the nerds that I thought they were, that maybe they actually had something that I needed. So there's the hope. Step 3 is the surrender. Right? I'm surrendering myself over to this power that I'm starting to at least be willing to believe is there for me. I still don't know what the power is. I still don't know who it is. It doesn't even matter. I just have to find this place within me where I admit that on my own I am selfish, I am self-centered, I am self-seeking, I'm the actor, I am the director, I am the choreographer, I do the lights, the scenery, the ballet, and sit in the front row and clap for myself. Don't forget that. There always needs to be an audience, and I am my favorite audience. So surrendering myself, and surrendering myself, continuing to surrender myself to this power greater than myself on a daily basis. And so that is the principle for step 3. As I understand it, courage is the principle for step 4. So I made a searching and fearless moral inventory of myself. I had done other 4th steps through the years, very half-heartedly, I can say now. At the time, I swore I was giving it my all, but that's a joke. I was half measures. And what does it tell us? Half measures avail us nothing. I was always willing to settle for half. I'll give it a half attempt. In school, I was, if I got a B, C, that was good enough for me. As long as I was passing, I didn't really care whether I was excelling. I didn't really care whether I was really putting my all into anything. That's kind of just the way I'm hardwired as an alcoholic, is that, I'll do the minimum, just get by. That's good enough for me. Because, I might need that spare time to do something really cool that I'm going to come up with an idea for. So courage, the courage to take that step, May you find him now, right? It tells me, may you find him now. I embark on my personal inventory, because a business that doesn't take one usually goes broke, and I was spiritually broke. So I was given the directions out of the big book in a way that I had never had them explained to me before, and I was willing to take some direction for the first time in my life. I would not recommend dragging that out. It was told to me that I was leaving myself on the operating table in the middle of spiritual surgery with my chest cut open every time I threw my notebook behind my couch and said, yeah, I got other things I need to do right now. And I wouldn't recommend that. But somehow, through the grace of God and people and sponsorship, I did complete that. And it was thorough and it was honest. I did pray every time. I did invite God in. And my sponsor assured me that by doing so, that everything that was meant to be on that paper would be on that paper. And if it wasn't on the paper, it would be revealed to me in good time. And that has proved to be the case. Step 5, integrity. The integrity to own my stuff, right? To own my stuff, to stand up and say, yeah, this isn't pretty. I'm not proud necessarily, but I'm not going to beat myself up. This is a fact-finding and fact-facing mission, and I'm going to admit these things now out loud. This is my handwriting here. This came from my higher power through me. This is who I've been. I need to see where I've been and who I don't want to be and where I don't want to go anymore to know, to have a new blueprint, to have a new direction in my life. I have to own that. And so admitting to God, to myself, and to another human being, it takes a lot of integrity for me to do that. And I found that. And each and every step built on the next. That is why they are in order. For years I was like, I'll do a little bit of 1, and I'll do a little 3, and I'll throw a dash of 7 in there sometimes. And, I can tell you they are in the order they're in for a reason. each one prepared me for the next. And that is the truth. So then I have step 6, willingness. Step 6 is willingness. We were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. I had to find a willingness within me to say, like, yeah, I don't want to wrest satisfaction anymore out of the world. I don't want to manipulate people the way that I now acknowledge that I can see that I have been doing my whole life. I don't want to force outcomes. I don't want to be that person. I have to find this willingness. And it tells me in step 6, if I don't have the willingness yet with some of them, to just pray until it comes, right? That's what it tells me, to just pray. I need to be willing to let God, and I always circle that word let in step 6. I need to be willing to let God remove from me all these defects of character. I can ask till the cows come home, but if I keep my fists clenched and I don't let God take something from me, then the asking is only half of the equation. I have to find a willingness to let that take place. Step 7, humility. Humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings, As with all the steps, this step 6 and 7 have and continue to evolve for me, and I continue to make them a part of my daily life, because I have to humbly ask in the morning. I don't know what God has in store for me on any given day. I don't know how God wants to use me on any given day. When I first got through my step 5 and I moved on into 6 and 7, and for a long time, I used to say, okay, please take this and take that and take this and take that in the morning, and it was all well-intended, with things like my selfishness, my impatience, whatever it might be. And it was pointed out to me somewhere along the way through one of my magnificent sponsors that, that was not being very humble. I was giving God a laundry list of what I thought. It was like going into my employer in the morning and saying, all right, here's what we're going to do today. You're going to do this, 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 and this, and let me know when that's all set, and I'll tell you what to do next. And even though it might be well-intentioned and it might be all for the good, the truth is that God is my new employer. It tells me that in step 3, it tells me I have a new employer now. So I am to humbly ask and let God be a part of my every waking moment is the goal for the day, give myself over to whatever God's plan for me is, because I can tell you, I wake up some days and it seems crystal clear what I'm supposed to do on any given day sometimes. And the day could not go any differently if I tried. And I used to rail against that, but this wasn't the plan. But that's the way it was supposed to be, And I'm not saying that I don't ever do that still. Please understand, I am not perfect. But this is the blueprint. I'm talking about the blueprint I've been given and I've discovered in these steps. So this is the blueprint, is that I can tell you unequivocally that I do roll with things much better, that I have developed, that I continue to develop a trust and a faith, because I've seen my God in action in my life. And I've seen how I think I should be here. God plunks me here. I'm initially not happy about it, but I can see why I was placed there. And so once I started to be willing to see that, acknowledge that in my life, and express gratitude for it, then I began to develop this cache, if you will, of memories and that I can call upon that this is the case. So I can begin to trust that. So then step 8 is love. I make the list of the people I've harmed. Some people say they were told to refer back to their 4th step inventory list. That was not a direction I was given. I can assure you that every cell in my body pretty much knew who I needed to make an amends to. There were some things that were revealed to me as harms I had done to people in my 4th and 5th step that I didn't know going into that. Now there were some people that I thought I needed to make amends to, that with the gentle guidance and love of my sponsor in step 8, it was revealed to me that I did not owe these people direct amends, but I could do other amends. I could do living amends. And so sponsorship is key at this juncture. I think sponsorship the focus gets put on 4 and 5 a lot of the time, but the latter steps, to me, sponsorship is as important, if not more important. It certainly has been the case for me. And then 9 the principle is responsibility. I'm going out into the world now. I'm trying to rejoin the human race. I'm trying to begin to demonstrate a tangible a tangible thing that I am not wanting to be this person anymore. I'm trying to take ownership. I'm trying to repair damage. I'm trying to bring some people a measure of peace. And I've had many experiences with Step 9, and some have gone according to plan, many have gone differently, some have been very welcoming, and some have told me to go pound sand. And, and however it's gone, I know that I have gone into it with my higher power, with having spent time with my sponsor, going over the amends, and with sincerity and a sincere desire to make right the wrong. And regardless of the outcome, I was always told, and I always have to check in with myself, do I not want to be this person any longer to anyone? This isn't about I'm just not going to cheat that person anymore. I'm just not going to lie to this person anymore, and I'm making that promise, if you will, and making my amends. This is about, do I really aspire not to do this anymore in my life in general? And until I can honestly say that, I shouldn't make the amends. Step 10, discipline. Continue, it tells us in Step 10, right? Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. Resentment and fear, not selfishness, dishonesty, and self-seeking and fear, like in 4. It's resentment and fear, because Step 9 tells me self-seeking will begin to slip away. So now I'm watching for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear, because I'm out in the world now. I'm engaging again with people, so I'm a resentment machine. Actually, I'm an expectation machine, right? What do we all know what an expectation is? It's a premeditated resentment. So I'm not a resentment machine, I'm an expectation machine. And I have a sponsor who told me, stop expecting yourself from other people. Right? One of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard. Stop expecting yourself. Just because I think this is the best way to do something, or I think you should automatically do this if this happens. I'm not allowing people to be themselves, right? So discipline is, and believe me, I've made some major boo-boos through the years. I've fallen off the beam, and I've caused some damage at times to people, and it grieves me when that happens. But this is the program in action. It's not about the falling off the beam. It's about, am I employing all the tools? Am I using everything that I'm being given here to get back on the beam as quickly as possible, with the help of a sponsor, you people, and most importantly, the grace of my Creator. That's what I'm given here, as an ability to be able to right the wrongs and to step back into the sunlight of the Spirit as quickly as possible. Step 11 is awareness, seeking to live my life on a daily basis according to what I think my higher power's plan is for me on any given day. And again, it all ties in, I rarely ever really truly know unequivocally what my higher power's will is for me. But I can tell you 9 times out of 10, I know what it's not, right? So by default, if I just try to not do the things that I know are not my higher power's will, I am by default putting myself so much closer to what his will is for me, right? So it's about developing, which all these steps have continued to help me develop, this God muscle, I've heard it referred to, and I used to think, what the heck are they talking about? But it's like a God muscle now, and it's this consciousness that I know is necessary in my life, but I also seek it because I see the power of it in my life. I see the power of the conscious connection that I am able to keep on any given day with my higher power in all of my affairs. And step 12, service. It's service. Carry this message to other alcoholics. Demonstrate these principles. Demonstrate that he can be, it says, sober, considerate, and helpful. Here's the caveat. Regardless of what anyone says or does. It's easy for me to demonstrate sobriety, considerateness, and helpfulness when somebody's not giving me a hard time. I'm like the poster girl for spiritual principles, as long as you're not rubbing me the wrong way, right? So that's the P part right there. Regardless of what anyone says or does, that's a tall order. But this is where the blueprint for living I've been given. I have directions. I have been reminded of who I am, who I was created to be. Again, this has been about me shedding things. This hasn't been about me acquiring. I was born, this is from my belief, I was born good, I was born kind, I was born loving, I was born integral. I had all of these principles within me, and they all got buried and lost in my fear, in my selfishness, in my self-seeking, in the shame and the guilt that I carried with me, and the damage that I did to others, and sometimes in the damage others did me, right? People do us harm at times, and that's okay. I don't need to focus on that. This is about me and my relationship with my higher power. The closer I've gotten to my higher power, the closer I have gotten to the true Amy. And the closer I have gotten to myself, conversely, the closer I have gotten to my higher power, you know. I will try to wrap this up here. It says, your job now is to be at the place where you may be of maximum helpfulness to others. And I have 2 notes to refer back to. One is to page 25, and why I have that there, I have no idea. And the other is, oh no, page 20, I can't see. Oh, here it is, to page 20. Our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depend upon our constant thought of others and how we may help meet their needs, right? And then on page 97, it tells me, helping others is the foundation stone of your recovery. A kindly act once in a while isn't enough. You have to act the Good Samaritan every day if need be. So this is about me demonstrating this program, these principles. I may be the only big book that somebody runs into out in the world. And what do I want them to think of that? And not that I'm walking around worried about what other people think, but do I want to demonstrate, you know, the power of this program to people that maybe are hopeless or feeling lost, that are in desperate need of a spiritual solution in their life. And this isn't just about being helpful and of service to other alcoholics. You know, this is about me showing up in my life, in the lives of others, in the lives of people that love me, in the lives of people that don't love me. This is about me being able to put my head down at the end of the day on my pillow and not being filled with guilt and regret and shame and remorse and justification for why I did and why I didn't all day long, you know. And if there is any shred of that, I have a blueprint for living. I have tools that show me how to get back to my Creator as quickly as possible, to what to do. You know, this is about me being the woman that I was created to be. And somewhere in the midst of all the chaos and damage that I did to myself and others through the years, not just while I was drinking, but for many years in sobriety, underneath it all, nobody cried and grieved more about my behavior than I did. I can honestly tell you that. I put up a big bravado and I don't care and they deserved and blah, blah, blah. But in the quiet stillness of the night, I can tell you, I would lay there and think, God, why do I do this? That's not who I am. There was some shred of me that still believed that I was something else, but I did not know how to access that part of me, even in sobriety, until I did this work. So if you are here and you are not feeling as though you are having a quality of life in your sobriety that you want, I would highly recommend that you grab somebody after this meeting and open your mind and your heart to doing this work. It saved my life, and I wouldn't trade my life for anybody's today. So thank you.